3 transactions to halt fraud. BitVM2 allows a single anonymous observer to halt a fraudulent bridge withdrawal on the Bitcoin mainnet using just 3 on-chain transactions. For over a decade, Bitcoin's limited scripting language made trustless outbound transfers technically impossible, forcing users to rely on centralized multisigs or federated sidechains. BitVM2 changes the engineering constraint by moving the heavy lifting off-chain and using Bitcoin as a final, optimistic arbiter. Instead of the network executing complex code, it only verifies a mathematical proof when a dispute occurs. This shift from execution to verification is the bridge architecture that finally breaks the trade-off between Bitcoin's security and its lack of programmability. The death of interactive bisection. The transition from the original BitVM1 to BitVM2 is fundamentally about reducing latency and complexity. BitVM1 required an interactive bisection game that could take 70 rounds of back-and-forth communication between a prover and a challenger, often lasting weeks. BitVM2 replaces this with snark-based optimistic verification. By chunking a growth 16 verifier into segments that fit within Bitcoin's 4 megabyte block limit, the protocol allows for a near-instant challenge response. If an operator attempts to withdraw funds without a valid zero-knowledge proof, any participant can trigger a disprove transaction that slashes the operator's collateral. This mechanical efficiency is what makes the system production-ready for the first time in 2026, and the implications for capital efficiency are even more significant. The one-of-n honesty assumption. BitVM2 operates on a one-of-n trust model, a radical departure from the honest majority assumptions used by traditional bridges. In a standard multisig, you trust that most signers won't collude. In BitVM2, you only need a single honest watchtower to be online and rational to protect the entire pool of assets. However, the architecture introduces a unique design trade-off known as the burning problem. While a malicious operator cannot steal deposits as long as one challenger is active, they can theoretically trigger a state where funds are permanently burned or locked to grief the system. This makes BitVM2 a robust security experiment, but shifts the risk from theft to liveness and economic griefing, a detail often ignored in the scaling narrative. The signal under the noise. The emergence of BitVM2 as a production-ready primitive signals that Bitcoin is evolving from a passive asset into a programmable base layer without a soft fork. By utilizing the one-of-n honesty assumption and snark-based verification, protocols like BitLayer and Citria have proved that Bitcoin's rigid script is not a dead end, but a specialized foundation for high-assurance scaling. This shift effectively ends the era of the trusted bridge, forcing every Bitcoin Layer 2 to justify why they still rely on a centralized multisig when a decentralized alternative exists. The real signal isn't the volume of Bitcoin being moved, but the structural change in how that Bitcoin is secured while off-chain. As we move deeper into 2026, the success of this experiment depends entirely on whether the economic cost of operating these bridges can be low enough to compete with the speed of centralized alternatives. Watch for the integration of garbled circuits in the BitVM3 research track as the next indicator of whether this architecture can achieve true consumer scale. Subscribe for more.